Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kevin Zwicker from the Fast Count, and this is your Worlds Collide post show. You might as well call me Jimmy Kimmel, David Letterman, Jay Leno, whoever it is you associate mostly in your mind of the Late Show. You might as well call me that because we are working on a late night edition of the show. Now, Worlds Collide. This partnership with WWE and AAA, I feel as if has been very beneficial, not just for WWE. They get their hands on a talented roster of individuals, and it adds another layer of their plan to dominate the whole professional wrestling circuit by absorbing as much talent and companies as they possibly can, much like Kirby, and it also benefits AAA in the obvious ways. There's people who normally wouldn't be keeping up with their product now are keeping up with their product due to the fact that they are associated with WWE. So this whole partnership between these two companies, I feel like it's been a win-win. It's not really a partnership, right? More so an acquisition, which is basically WWE buying it, right? Acquisition is a nice way of saying we bought them. So this was a really solid show, head to toe. It was, the fact that it started late at night, I see how that could be a bit of a turnoff for some people. But if we're just basing off of what went down, I think this was an entertaining, night of professional wrestling. And it's been a really busy day. If you think about all the things that have went down today, the announcement earlier, in the day by Triple H and WWE. It wasn't this shocking announcement, really, that they were kind of touting because the news kind of broke yesterday, and the cat was kind of out of the bag that in 2027, WrestleMania is going to be taking place in Saudi Arabia. I think that pretty much guarantees you guys aren't going to be getting live coverage from the event from the Fast Count. I do not see myself making the trip over, and I don't see other individuals like just somebody who is pretty famous in this space, who's pretty well known and happens to be a woman, is Denise Salcedo. She's already come out on her Twitter account and said that she's not making the trip. She's somebody who usually would make the trip up to WrestleMania or these other big events, and other people in this space that normally would make the commitment of doing it. I don't see them making the commitment now due to the fact that it's going to be in Saudi Arabia in 2027. What I find interesting about that show is there's rumors, there's speculation that they're going to try to stack it up with as many stars as they possibly can, which I totally see them doing. I could totally see them without any type of hesitation throwing an outrageous number to like Steve Austin to come out and wrestle. The Rock, he's probably going to get something north of $20 million. I can see it right now. Reports coming out of that show that The Rock just made an insane bag to wrestle somebody like Roman Reigns, or even somebody like Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement, The Undertaker. All these different names that I could see, Saudi Arabia, trying their damnedest to throw as much money at these individuals to where they can't say no. So it's going to be an interesting proposition. If you're somebody who's from the UK or New Orleans, who got WrestleMania just yanked out of their hands, due to them getting more money from other places, you got to feel like shit, right? The almighty dollar triumphs everything when it comes to WWE and TKO. But hey, just like a whole bunch of different industries and corporations out there that pop into our minds, it's all about the money. Follow the money is what I tend to do when it comes to certain maneuvers by big corporations. But guys, we kick off this show. It's Mexican, Independence Day weekend. We also got the big time boxing matchup tomorrow between Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. If I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Bud, just due to the fact that I think just at this stage is right now he's got a little bit more proving to do than Canelo. I think Canelo maybe a couple of years ago Canelo would have the upper hand, but I think at this stage right now I think Bud's gonna have it. But Penta, he comes out, he kicks off the show. Penta, who somebody who's had a run in the past, with AAA, he comes out, he cuts an all Spanish promo. Basically, the gist of this promo is he's welcoming the crowd. He's celebrating the fact that tonight is going to be a night of Mexican culture. It's Mexican Independence Weekend. All these different things. Very much so a raw speech. And then he goes on to talk about how, I want to do something that I wasn't able to accomplish during my first run in AAA. And that is to become the AAA Mega Champion. So I don't care if it's Vikingo. I don't care if it's Dominic Mysterio. That's going to be the next goal that I have going into this partnership with AAA and WWE. Penta is somebody who is kind of in a rut if you really think about it. Coming out of AEW, there was this big hoopla of the fact that Penta was going to WWE. I think that they debuted him perfectly fine. I think that what they were doing, with him in the initial, first couple of weeks of him, getting his feet wet in the WWE, I think that they did it as well as you possibly could do. But ever since then, I feel like they've just, he's taken so many different, losses. He's not featured as heavily as he was before. Ray Phoenix, he has just been taking L after L. This whole thing about, the Lucha Brothers making the jump. I was expecting us to get, big time, effort that WWE was going to be pushing with these guys. But it seems as if the rose is off the bloom. The bloom is off the rose at this point with those guys. But an opportunity like this with their acquisition of AAA, I think that this is going to be able to at least breathe some form of new life into Penta, right? Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. Always remember that it's free. This is a late night show. But first, the first match of the night, we get an 8-man tag. We get Octagon Jr., we get La Parka, we get Laredo Kid, and we get Mascara Segura. I know I butchered that pronunciation like a mofo. Against the LWO, Lince Dorado, and Mini Abismo Negro. All right. Going into this, due to the fact that, coming out of AAA, one of the big moments, Triple Mania, one of the big moments was, Almas and Mascarito, the whole giant and the little person. That visual was something that was going around, all through social media. As soon as that moment went down, I assumed that this match was going to be an opportunity for them to showcase Mascarito. That's exactly what we got. Mascarito is somebody who, if you don't follow AAA on a regular basis or haven't followed AAA for the last couple of years, is somebody who's been around for a long time, a veteran talent, somebody who, at least in that territory, is very much so well respected. I know for the longest time, especially when it comes to American pro wrestling, the miniature wrestlers were treated, with a lot of, kind of like a comedy character. I don't know if you guys remember in the mid 2000s, that micro division that they had on SmackDown, where it was just, little people competing, but it was all just, for laughs, played for laughs. Mascarito is somebody who can really get busy in that ring. And we were able to see that. I think the way that they were able to, showcase La Parka as well, this version of La Parka. If you ask me, I think La Parka should always be played by somebody who's fat. But hey, I'm fine with the version, this iteration of the character right now as well. I think the dancing gimmick and all those things, I think is tailor-made for WWE. WWE, as we all know, entertainment is extremely important for them. They enjoy when you get characters, in the vein of like a Santino. We see Mr. Iguana, who's making gangbusters amount of money now with the Jessica dolls and being on Raw and SmackDown now because he's just kind of these characters are kind of tailor made for WWE, and I think the fact that we've had guys like The Undertaker come in and help with the booking of AAA now that they've been acquired by WWE, I think it's been a godsend because prior to the partnership with WWE, AAA was, at least in my mind, easily the worst promotion going today. If you just look back at stuff that they were doing and the booking practices and just a lot of different shows prior to this partnership with WWE, it was god awful. At least to me, some people rocked with it. I know that I'm not in the majority. I know a lot of people didn't rock with what they were doing previously to this partnership, and I think that they've been able to, keep some of the elements that people enjoyed in AAA, but incorporate the WWE style a little bit, present it more so in the WWE way, emphasize the characters like La Parka and Masquerito, where they can be put in positions to where WWE can make money off of them and make them very rich men. I think that this has worked out well. Masquerito, he was able to roll up Abismo Negro. One of these things that, and I think this is probably just me nitpicking, but something that I've always found interesting is, the fact that Joaquin Wilde is in the LWO, but he's Filipino. Nobody ever talks about that we have a group called the Latin World Order, and one of the members is not Latin. I've always found that pretty wild. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. And always remember that it is free. It helps the channel out a lot, guys. And quick update, life update. I know this is going to be a little bit of a detour, but I think I enjoy sharing stuff with you guys because I honestly feel as if, especially during these live shows, this is kind of in a community that we're building. There's people that come in here that like to, kick back and talk about the shows a lot. So I like to share kind of updates when it comes to certain lives and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys are aware of this or who this person is. Robin Lundberg, probably one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in YouTube WNBA coverage. I assist in editing with his shorts. Social media shorts, YouTube shorts. That's one of the things that I went to school with. I went to school during the summer to be able to master that skill, and I help him out with that. He's one of my clients. Now, as of today, I will also be doing content and editing work for Jake Asman. If you guys do not know who Jake Asman is probably the biggest content creator on YouTube that covers the New York Jets. My favorite football team as well. So I'll be working with Jake Asman as well. So pretty cool life update, right? I'm editing for probably the biggest name in the WNBA space, and I'm editing for the biggest name that covers the New York Jets on YouTube, right? It's not going to stop what we do over here. Fast Count is my baby. We're still going to be talking about professional wrestling as much as we possibly can. And it's not going to change the schedule or the amount of content that we put out. But just wanted to give you guys an update. I got my hands in the WNBA as well, and my hands in the NFL as well. And just as freelance work, guys, I will be rolling it out and plugging it on the channel. Zwicker Media Group, we do just freelance work if you just want to have a short done professionally, or if you want to have on a consistent basis, you want to have shorts done, whether it's a one-off or if it's on a consistent basis or a monthly basis. I'll be rolling that services out as for you guys as well, not just for content creators, if that's something that you're interested in. But let's get back to the show, right? So we're interviewed backstage. Rey Mysterio is being interviewed backstage, right? And he's touting Mexican Independence Weekend and starting to get into that. And before he could really get into the conversation, he's interrupted by Dirty Dom Mysterio. If you guys don't know, Dirty Dom is in the main event for the AAA Mega Championship against Vikingo. And he says, I'm going to be, the first Mysterio to win the AAA Mega Championship, something that you didn't do. And then he says, I want you to, after I win the AAA Mega Championship and prove that I am the better Mysterio, I want you to wrap that title around my waist. And Dominic, he goes back and forth with his dad, and his dad says, if you win that title, I will do that. And he's approached again by Finn Balor, and Finn Balor, he tells him, he says, I think the best way to prove that you are the best Mysterio is to do this yourself. All right. Which, if you saw the main event, was not what went down, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. Guys, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. What did you guys think about the show, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, right? Coming into this show, were you excited about it? Were you not excited about it? Did it live up to your hype, that you had in your mind? Were you let down? Did you come in here with no expectations? What was your thoughts on this show? I'm really curious to know what you guys thought about it, because I know that there's a lot of people out here who strictly just watch WWE and aren't exposed to other promotions. I'm really curious to hear the thoughts of individuals who just watch WWE for the most part, what they thought about this. Or if you're somebody who's more open-minded and you enjoy other things, things like AEW or MLW or GCW, the Indies, and AAA and CMLL, I'd like to know if you enjoyed this show as well. Now, due to the fact that AAA is a little bit more WWE flavored infused. Next, we get into Natalya going up against Fabi Apache, two veteran ladies. Fabi, she's been kind of the AAA version of Natalya, where it's like, the steady hand, the person who has been, the constant in the women's division. Somebody who's been doing this for a long time, very much so like Natty. Opportunities like this, where WWE is now partnering and acquiring other companies, it really gives opportunities for people like Natty, who isn't doing much on WWE TV, but it gives them an opportunity to try new things out in different promotions and be able to go out here, show different sides of what they're able to contribute to other places, and really kind of how would you say that? How would you really scratch that creative itch? Because I'm pretty sure that, just think about the people who are in WWE who are sidelined, right? People like Natty, Nakamura. These are just two names that really got Almas. These are just names that really kind of pop into my mind that we don't see them on WWE television that often, or if we do see them, in the case of Natty, they're not doing anything significant. These opportunities where they're partnering with all these other countries really gives these people opportunities to spread their wings a little bit and be able to work. But this is a solid match between two veteran ladies who have seen it all and done it all. Natty was able to pick up the win with the roll-up. If you guys pay attention, wins by roll-ups is a common theme throughout this night. I think in the way that this ended, ended with a pull-apart brawl where they had to be separated. So it felt as if they were teasing a potential rematch, which I'm good with. At any time that we can have these rematches where I feel as if it makes sense from a logical perspective, I'm good for it. I'm not a fan of doing a rematch simply based off the fact of needing to do another match. I think once somebody gets pinned clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, I don't feel as if there's a reason for us to run it back. But in the way that they were able to do this, where it was two people who were really going at it, and we saw a kind of a fluky type of finish with a roll-up, I think it would be appropriate for us to run this thing back. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. Guys, next weekend is going to be big. If you guys don't know, if you're new here, we do Raw post shows. So on Monday, I'm going to be back doing a live for that. On Wednesday, I'm going to be back doing the AEW Dynamite post show. But next weekend on Saturday, it's going to be big because we got All Out during the day, and we have WrestlePalooza at night. So the post show, it's going to take place after WrestlePalooza. It's going to be a little bit of a hybrid. I'm going to be mainly talking about WrestlePalooza due to the fact that that's going to be the show that immediately I'm going live after. But we're gonna sit here and we're gonna infuse a little bit of All Out, especially if something big time happens, and it's really gonna dictate the chat. If you guys are in the chat and you're watching the show, you guys want to talk about All Out, feel free to bring it up. If you guys want to just strictly talk about WrestlePalooza stuff, we can talk about that as well. It's just gonna be we're gonna go with the flow and see how the conversation flows, and if it just is up to me, I'm gonna interweave the two. All right, I'm gonna interweave the two because I know that coming out of that weekend, if I had to place money on it, I think if we're gonna compare the two shows going into it, my expectation is All Out is gonna be the better wrestling show. I assume that we're gonna have at least 1 to 2 really, really, intense and banger of a match on the All Out card. And WrestlePalooza due to the star power, right? Cena and Lesnar, AJ Lee's first match in over a decade, Cody Rhodes and McIntyre. That with the amount of star power that's on that card, I think that's going to be the show that people are going to come out of that weekend talking about more, because it's just the name value. But I think All Out is probably going to be the better show. But that's just me, right? That's why we sit back and watch the shows, to be able to see if our thought process is going in is the way it plays out. But we're backstage. We're interviewing the New Day. The New Day is getting a backstage interview. And they're hyping up the fact that, if you've been paying attention on Raw, right, that they've been mourning the loss of the tag titles, and they have tried their best to get rematches, but Adam Pearce has thwarted them at every single opportunity, so they're continuing to mourn. And going into this show, they're saying, you know what, if we weren't able to get our rematches on Raw, we're going to come in here and we're going to win the AAA Tag Team Championships. But Xavier Woods, it has been going, the rumor has it that he's not going to be able to compete tonight. And we've got confirmation that due to the fact that he had surgery, that, he is not going to be competing tonight. He had, saying that he has a decision in the back of his head due to eating a Mexican destroyer. He wouldn't be able to compete, and Grayson Waller would be taking his spot. A Mexican destroyer. That sounds like a menu item, something that they would add to the Taco Bell menu item, or something that they would add at your local Micasitas. A Mexican destroyer. Whew. The sound of that, man, I know that would automatically give you the worst case of the bubble guts. But we're going into this AAA Tag Team Championship match. We got the Tag Team Champions, Pagano and Psycho Clown, going up against the New Day. What they're playing on to this match heading into it is Xavier Woods' fear of clowns. And you knew that as soon as it was announced that Psycho Clown would be wrestling the New Day, that we're going to get some type of comedy spot involving that. If you guys remember a few years back, they were doing that. It's kind of a similar thing to this, where Xavier Woods was scared of the Wyatts. And I think that Xavier Woods is such a versatile performer. Another guy who I think is extremely versatile as well and gets shitted on a lot is The Miz. I think that he has become so constantly dogged out that he's now come to the point, at least in my mind, where I consider him to be underrated because of how much grief the guy gets. But this was a solid match. Grayson Waller, physically, I think he has all the tools in the world to become a big-time player in the future. It's all kind of about putting, the pieces all together. And no matter how much good stuff the guy puts out, whether it's interesting promos or his comedic timing or how much work he's put in to improve his physique and bulk up, it's all about the booking, right? the guy, he could do the best that he possibly can, but if he's not booked in a position where he could showcase what he could do, it's really out of the guy's hands, which is kind of the shitty thing about professional wrestling if you think about it, right? Doesn't matter how much work you put in or how talented you could be or how much the fans support you. You carrying a cross as somebody who's a clear example. If you're not booked properly by that one guy or liked by that one guy or seen as a star in the eyes of that one guy, then basically screwed. But Grayson was able to do some nice things in this match. Psycho Clown, somebody who has been a big time player in AAA for quite a while. The spot that he does where he rips off his mask to reveal another like mask where it looks as if you got your face ripped off and you see the I don't even know what you would really call that, like the arteries and stuff, I guess say the arteries and stuff that's holding your face together under the skin. We see Xavier Woods on the apron and he witnesses that and he basically says, "I'm out." And he runs to the back and we see Psycho Clown roll up Grayson Waller. There goes that roll-ups again. You guys should do a drinking game. Anytime I say the word roll up, you take a shot. You'll probably be drunk by the time this show is over. But tag team champions were able to retain. Anytime that WWE does these shows, where they're collaborating with AAA or TNA, I think most people kind of have the fear or at least have the assumption that anytime there's going to be a title match, the WWE guy is going to win. Because we see in TNA, right? Trick Williams is the TNA champion. We saw JC Jane was the Knockouts champion. So I think we kind of always have this inherent fear that WWE is just going to, anytime they're in these partnerships or acquisitions of these companies, they're just going to come in and steal everybody's championships. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen, at least with this match. Guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps the channel out in more ways than you even know. And like I announced a few minutes ago, I am now not only working with Robin Lundberg, who is probably the biggest name in the content space associated with the WNBA. I am now starting Monday working with Jake Asman, who is the biggest content creator for the New York Jets on YouTube. So Zwicker Media Services, Zwicker Media Group is booming at the moment, which wouldn't have happened without you guys, because without your support, checking in the post shows, watching the shorts that I do here, or checking out the individual videos, there's no way these opportunities in these other fields would open up for me. And I appreciate, even if you just checked in on my stuff for 4 or 5 seconds and dipped, those 4 or 5 seconds mean more to me than you even know. And this channel is only going to get bigger. We're only going to try more new things. We're only going to do more content. And the fact that you guys are along the ride is very much so appreciated on my end. And you have all these different options of what to watch when it comes to entertainment, all these different content creators, all these different streaming services, yet you decide to check in and watch some of my stuff for your willingly. It's not something that I don't take lightly. But we get into this mixed tag team match. We got Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice. Lola Vice. Elite. I'm just going to keep it at that. Elite. Against Finn Balor and Roxanne Perez. Lola Vice. When she was initially signed, from WWE, she was previously with Bellator MMA, right? She was a badass fighter in Bellator. We have these situations a lot of times where people see these elite athletes, right? Who do legitimate fighting and have a legitimate background. Like people like Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey, who just kind of came in and were like fish, right? Fish to water, immediately hit the ground running. And then we have other people who just weren't able to piece things together, like Gable Stevenson. And it kind of has really made it more obvious in the mind that these things can be hit or miss, right? So when Lola Vice came in, with her legitimate background in MMA fighting, I thought, okay, this could be an opportunity where we're really going to be able to see if she's going to be able to uh, adapt to professional wrestling, because I think we all know that it's not just moves. I think there's a lot more to pro wrestling that we know. It's ring psychology. It's being able to pull off these maneuvers. It's being able to demonstrate facial expressions in the right situations, and it's able to cut a promo. And I think slowly but surely, Lola Vice has been able to start to really piece things together. And I think within the next year, it's going to be pretty hard to still maintain her down there in NXT. I think within the year, we're going to see her on the main roster. Personally, like I just said, big fan. It's a toss up. There's so many that when it comes to the women's division, and I feel like if no matter what direction that you go, I mean, you're going to be accused of being a gooner, right? But WWE, they're really in a position now where they have a really strong women's division, not just with their appearances, but the way that they've been able to carry themselves. I think the way that they've been able to present, people like Jade Cargill and Stephanie McCure, I think that they've booked them horrendously over the last 6 weeks. But when we do see them, I think that the way that they've been able to, basically establish aura for them has been elite. And I think that they're doing the exact same thing with Lola Vice down there in NXT. She's going to be the next big thing once she's promoted to the main roster. But everybody going into this match, they wanted to see Mr. Iguana, right? Mr. Iguana, I think he is the guy who's benefited the most from this AAA and WWE acquisition. Guy's made a lot of money with the Jessica dolls, and he's been able to really parlay this into many different opportunities, getting himself on the main roster, SmackDown and Raw. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see more of him on the WWE main roster, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of him soon because he's tailor-made for what WWE wants to do and the stars that they look for. I think that he could be the modern-day Santino for them. All right. And I know people may say that and be like, oh, are you dissing him? No, I'm not. Santino's a WWE Hall of Famer, at least in my mind. So I think that's good. But heading into this, you guys remember Dominico, Jessica. Somebody is gonna. I'm pretty sure somebody on the internet is gonna, splice and cut up a video package of Jessica and Dominico and have My Way play in the background by Limp Bizkit. But we saw Jessica hit a Tupe Sorcita on Dominico. We saw her hit it, the Tupe, right? The Suicida, right? I thought that was something that was funny. The people that were eating this up, they're eating it up like a pig eats up slop. And they were totally into this. And Lola Vice, she was able to hit the backhand fist on Roxanne Perez to pick up the win. Another big win for Lola Vice on a high-profile show. Like I said, Lola is up next. And the fact that she is, as beautiful as she is and can kick probably 90% of every guy's ass is a deadly combination. We get into the four-way for the Latin American title, right? We got El Hijo, the Dr. Wagner Jr., we got JD McDonough, we got Ethan Page, we got Dragon Lee, we got everybody represented, right? AAA, NXT, Raw and SmackDown. We got everybody represented in this match. I think that heading into this, I thought it was going to be pretty. It would have been a shock if Dr. Wagner Jr. wasn't going to come out of this with a victory. I didn't see Ethan Page winning this. I didn't think it would have made any real sense for JD McDonough to win, even though JD McDonough was pretty over in this match. I thought it was pretty much between Dr. Wagner and Dragon Lee, mainly siding with Dr. Wagner was going to be the most logical choice to pick up this W, and that's what we saw, right? During this match, we saw the lights cut off. Not all the lights, but we saw a significant difference in lighting in the arena. We had people making chants due to the technical difficulties. It lasted probably about 2-3 minutes, but Dr. Wagner was able to hit his finisher on JD McDonough. He retained his Latin American title. Good win for the AAA guys. Solid night. Guys, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Again, I am more than happy to hear your guys' thoughts on the show. I think it's good to hear others' opinions on what went down and not just hear what I got to say about it, right? This is a very interactive show. That if you guys have ever checked out the Raw post shows or the Dynamite post show that happened last week, very interactive. We talk about a whole bunch of stuff. It doesn't have to be. We don't talk about. It doesn't have to necessarily be on topic. We was doing the AEW Dynamite post show. We had people talking about Evolution from July. So it's a free form. We get into the main event. Dominic Mysterio going up against Vikingo for the AAA Mega Championship. Vikingo, not the most popular guy, when it comes to the fan reaction from the AAA faithful. Vikingo, he is currently in his big dog Roman Reigns era, where it feels as if AAA is basically playing the Vince McMahon role, where they're saying, you're going to like this, and we're going to push it so far down your throat that you're going to beg us to stop. And you're going to sit there and eventually say, I give up. I like this. Right? Didn't get a good reaction. Dominic Mysterio basically felt as if he was the babyface in this match. He got a hero's welcome. Dominic Mysterio, one of the more over guys in the business. A lot of people have their opinions on what makes a good professional wrestler, right? Some people have different styles and different likes. Some people they're Will Ospreay guys. Other people they said like Will Ospreay is what a good wrestler is. Other people will go like somebody like Roman Reigns and say this is what a good wrestler is. Jey Uso. Dominic Mysterio. But for me, what it comes down to, what makes somebody a good wrestler is, do people buy their merch? Do they get reactions when they get to the arena? And are they able to, is the company able to make money off of them, right? And if we're going off of that criteria, then Dominic Mysterio is an elite professional wrestling individual, because the guy gets big time reactions. The guy is been really much a revelation. Think about this. When he first debuted years and years ago, right, as Rey Mysterio's tag team partner, it felt as if I know, at least for me at that time, I was like, man, this guy, outside of the fact that he's Rey Mysterio's son, I don't think that he's gonna have it. If his name was Dominic Smith, I said this guy. There's no way that the WWE is going to be able to really do anything with him for the most part. But he has proved that, not only just me, I think he's proved probably 90% of wrestling content creators, and probably people who were even in the business. He has been such a great heel. He has done something that has dad was never able to do, right? Because Rey Mysterio throughout his career outside of the Filthy Animals was never a heel. So the fact that he's been able to really kind of carve his own lane and do something that really differentiates himself from Rey Mysterio and not just play Rey Mysterio's son is just a testament of how hard the guy has been putting in work, right? But Dominic, he's never going to get confused for Bret Hart in the ring, but he was able to put up a really solid performance. Vikingo, it felt like everything that he was doing, people were just not too into it. He hit that 450 splash. Dominic was able to counter that and not take the pinfall of that. He hit the 680. It looked like things were done. After we got interferences from the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day, you had Finn Balor and JD McDonough come in, try to sit there and assist Dominic with the win, but they weren't able to do that. We had Dragon Lee come out to kind of make the save. Numbers got overwhelming for him. Then we see Rey Mysterio come out with the chair. He's able to clear house. He has the Judgment Day running to the back. Dominic looks like he's about to take the L after Vikingo hit the 680, but we see the referee get pulled out, and he's pulled out by none other than Mexico's favorite son, Grande Americano. Poor Chad Gable. He got his gimmick snatched away like Debo snatches chains. And we get this moment in time, right, where it looks as if Vikingo is going to rip off Grande's mask. Grande is fighting to keep his mask on. He slips something into the ring. Dominic Mysterio, at this point in the match, he's already put on his lucha mask, trying to, which he's done previously, where he's, is in and out of the mask, but he slips the object into the mask. He headbutts Vikingo. He hits the frog splash. 1, 2, 3. Dominic Mysterio completes the mission. He is now double Dom with the AAA Mega Championship and the WWE Intercontinental Championship. He has done something that no Mysterio has done, become a double champion, and he did something that his father wasn't able to do, and that was to win the AAA Mega Championship. Rey Mysterio eventually comes out and hesitantly wraps the title around his waist. That's how we end this show. Dominic Mysterio completing the prophecy. Solid show. My only complaint was that it started late because I'm tired of shit. But I understand why. Tomorrow is the big, Canelo Alvarez versus Bud Crawford fight, which is also a TKO thing. So I'm sure that they wanted to just solely put as much focus on that because that's probably the biggest boxing match that I could think of since Wilder and Fury. So I see why they would want to put as much firepower and willpower behind that. But guys, this is solid. Meltzer star rating, give it a solid 3. The thing that I like the most about these WWE PLE cards, whether it's NXT, now AAA, or the main roster, is they keep it short. They give you about 5 matches. I personally don't like the fact that the fact that they have these cards that are 5 matches and somehow they end up being over 3 hours because they add so much fluff in them. But this show was minimal fluff, unlike how they do with the main roster, and very solid. I forgot to mention that after the tag team match where Psycho Clown and Pagano was able to retain, they were attacked by the Wyatt 6. So that's something that I forgot to mention, and that's something that's pretty significant, right? So I wanted to go back and fill that part in. Dave Meltzer's star rating, this show is a 3-star show in my mind. Guys, remember, like I said, Monday Night Raw, we are going live immediately following the show. Wednesday, Dynamite going live following the show. And next weekend, we're gonna have like a little bit of a hybrid post-show, due to the fact that All Out was going to be taking place earlier in the day but we're going to be going live immediately after WrestlePalooza. It's going to be probably more WrestlePalooza centric because that's going to be a show that I'm going to be immediately following. But we're gonna put in some all out talk in there if we can, if it fits. Like I said, it all just depends on what you guys want to talk about and how the chat dictates things. And again, wanted to mention to you guys, Zwicker Media, my editing services that I provide. The client stable is starting to become more filling. I do editing for Robin Lundberg, who is probably the biggest name in the WNBA space, at least on the content side. And now I am starting Monday, editing work for Jake Asman, who is the biggest name in the New York Jets content creator space and YouTube. So all thanks to you guys. It means the world that you checked out the post show. And hopefully you guys hit that like button and subscribe on your way out, because there's a lot more stuff that is going to be taking place. If you guys don't have any comments or any topics that you guys want to talk about before I get out of here, I'm going to wrap this thing up because it is getting late. But I'm going to give it a few seconds to see if any of you guys want to discuss something that went down on the show, or even if you want to discuss something that went down on SmackDown, because this followed SmackDown, right? See Brock Lesnar ripping his pants, right? It's not the first time he's exposed himself in front of somebody, right? It's not good to joke about that type of stuff, to be honest. Sad situation. Allegedly. Let me put that alleged part in front of it so they don't sue me. But another thing that's crazy, right? We see the segment with Brock. It involves R-Truth again, right? This guy, WWE brings him back. They bring him back after they let him go, and they set up this tone that we're gonna get this serious version of R-Truth. We saw the angle where he screwed Cena in his match, right? And then we see him cut his hair on Raw. It looks as if they adopt the fact that, hey, we're getting Ron Kill. He's gonna go by Ron Killings now. It's not gonna be an R-Truth thing. We're seeing like this is something fresh. This is something brand new. We haven't seen this version of R-Truth in WWE. Last time we seen something similar to this was in TNA, right? And then not even 3 weeks later, the guy is back to just being Goofy Truth. It's just like, what was the whole point of doing that serious angle and setting the tone if you were just going to revert to what he was before? Lazy booking. Lazy booking is what that was. Road Dogg, you've not been doing a good job on SmackDown. I don't think I'm speaking out of school when I say this, but I think it's become abundantly clear over the last several months that SmackDown is easily the worst weekly wrestling show, out of all the that goes on TV. Out of Raw, Dynamite, I'll even throw Impact in there. SmackDown is the worst. But guys, hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. I am Kevin Zwicker. I will see you guys back here on Monday. I'm out.